All right, so we're gonna make one or two more parts. So we're gonna make a little hammer and a handle for this peg toy. So I'm gonna add a new part studio, and I'm gonna call this hammer head. So for this piece, we are actually going to be using a new tool called the Revolve tool, which is really handy for making round objects. And you'll see what I mean here. So we're going to start by doing a new sketch. And let's go on the front plane. Sorry about that. Front plane. And I'm going to rotate to view it from the front. So basically, I'm going to be drawing only half of my silhouette of the hammerhead. So I'm going to grab a line tool, and we're going to go right down the middle here. So straight down, and I'm going to set this to be 5. And then going straight out, we're going to do this 1.5 at the top. I'm going to hit escape or not. I'll turn off the tool, turn it back on, and do the same thing at the bottom. All right, so then we're gonna make it escape line, kind of a little curvy shape in here. So with our line tool, we're going to go down 0.75, and same thing on the other side. And then escape line again. So I'm right clicking to get to the escape line. So we're going to kind of hover over this top point here, and you can see that it turned yellow, and then I get this yellow dotted line. And like in the middle, I'm just going to draw a line. So those dotted lines just tell me that I am perfectly in line with this top and the bottom. So now that we have this line drawn here in the middle, we want these two spaces of the top and bottom of it to be equal. So we're going to grab our dimension tool and choose 2 points on either side, and we want to set this to 0.5. And down here, set this one to 0.5. So now it's the same gap there. And then we're going to grab our 3-point arc tool. And let's do it at 0.25. All right, so we have both of them set at 0.25. So this is half of our silhouette of our hammerhead that it's going to rotate around using our revolve tool. So this is what we have going on here. I'll move some of this out of the way so it's a little bit easier to read. All right, so those are all of those dimensions. So we are going to finish the sketch. And this is our revolve tool. So when we click on this, it's going to be a solid. We're doing new. So in this blue section, it says faces and sketch regions to resolve. So you want to click on what sketch you want to revolve. So I want this one that we just did. And now it says the revolve axis. Now we got to click on the axis that we want it to revolve around. So it's going to be this one. There we go. And now it kind of looks like a little toy hammerhead. So we just click the green check mark. So now that we have our hammerhead done, we need to make a hole on here so that it can attach to our handle. So none of these planes are right on the surface of this round barrel part of our hammer. So we're going to need to make a new plane so that we can cut a hole only part of the way through our hammerhead. Or all the way through, actually, is what we're going to do. So this button right here says plane. So we're going to be creating a new plane. That's at this right, front, top are all planes. So I'm going to do it from the right plane with an offset. So I believe an offset of 1.5. There we go. Because the whole, when we drew that straight line out, that was 1.5 out. So I knew that measurement. So now that plane, if I zoom around, is right on the edge of our round surface. So I'm going to click yes. So now we have this plane 1. So we're going to do a sketch on plane 1, and it's lined up with our front plane. But now we want to make sure our hole is centered on this, what looks like a square right now, but it's not really a square. So we're going to use this point. So I'm just going to kind of click this point, and I know that this line right here is directly down the middle of my hammer because of how I drew it. If you didn't do it the same, you're going to have to do a little bit extra dimensioning, but I'm just going to click a point in there. So this little blue point. So now I can grab my dimension tool and I can dimension from my point. So from the sides, I can't do. So that's why it was nice that it was lined up. I'll show you here in a second if yours isn't lined up how to do that, because you can see my lines aren't highlighting there. But I can go to this top one, and that is 0.991. Let's see what 1 inch. And if I go from, oh, that's definitely not going to be enough. I was not guessing that right. And that one's 1.5. So if I had both of these here, because I typed in this number, it made it black, and that's like the strong measurement. This one is just there for reference. So like if I were to change this one, like it won't even let me, honestly. So I know that I need to even these out. So I want this one to be 1.25. And now they both are 1.25. So if you didn't do your middle right along this axis here, to be able to dimension to these lines over here, we're going to use this use tool. So what this does is you can click on a feature, and now that line is usable to be dimensioned to. So then I can grab my dimension tool and go from my point to the side, and I know that's 1.5. I can go to this side, 1.5. So we need it 1.25 from the top and bottom, 1.5 from the sides. And we are going to finish the sketch. So now we have this little point that's just chilling on there. So we are going to grab our hole tool right here, and we are going to choose that point. And with this hole tool, you can do a lot of crazy things like threads and countersunk and things like that, counterbore, countersink, make it go through. We are going to make it go all the way through. So, and our diameter of it is going to be 0.75. So we're not going to do any of the crazy things right now. Eventually you might learn that, but right now we're just going to do a simple through 0.75 diameter right on that hole that we drew. And there that is. So I'm going to make this a color. Assign material. Oh, not material. Edit appearance. I'm going to do like a goldish color. Oops. All right, so there is our hammer head. So real quick before we move on, we're just going to do one last little thing just to clean this up a little bit. So to make it a little easier to see what we're working with, I'm going to actually turn off these planes here just by clicking this little eyeball next to them all, so I just see my hammer handle. So we're going to use a tool called chamfer on our top edge up here and the bottom edge, just to not round it, but to add a little bit more dimension to it. So we're just going to click chamfer. We're going to click this top edge up there and this bottom edge, and we're going to do a chamfer of 0.1 on both of those. So it just gives it a little bit more finished look, like if we were to round it a little bit on a saw. Next, we're going to make our hammer handle. This one is super simple, kind of like the circle peg. So we're just going to do a sketch. I'll do it on the top plane. And we're going to draw a circle. So that is 0.75. That's the size of that hole that we drew. And instead of doing finish the sketch and then choosing extrude, I'm just going to click extrude right here because I know that this is what I want extruded. And this is going to be 12 inches. And I'm going to do finish. I'm going to make it the same color. And I'm going to call this handle. All right, so that is how you make your hammer head and handle.